Whether you like to fish ponds, lakes, reservoirs, jetties, bayous, or reefs, we have all the information to get you hooked up. Our expert guides are ready to give you the lowdown here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
We're back on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, here to bring you the best reports from the best guides from around the state. It's been a hot week and the fishing has been even hotter. And someone who knows a little bit about the hot bite is Dave Farrell at CCA Workbench. Dave, what do you have for show and tell over there today?
Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about creature baits, using these big giant creature baits to catch big bass. So that's what we're going to be doing. And that is a creature, isn't it?
Those are pretty creepy, but it's going to get you a bass. All right, well, Rick, we've got the entire state of Texas to get through, so can I have the go-ahead to get us started?
Absolutely, please go.
Okay, first captain up to bat for us is Bink Grimes in the Middle Coast region with the fullest of full reports for all of you inshore and offshore. Hey, Bink.
What's going on? Hey, I'm going to tell you what, the past week might have been the best week of the summer as far as catching. July normally is some of the lowest tides of the year, but we got a little switch to the southeast winds this week. It got our tides up a little bit, and the barometer fell, and, man, our fishing's been good. More water in our bays means more real estate we can fish, and it's just fish have been everywhere from wading to drifting, just been really good. In West Matagorda Bay, the grass beds are really good. Normally, from time to time in July, it gets stale, but in the last 2 years have just been money out there. Guy Ray Sexton said he's fished the same flat for about 11 straight days. He said the bites improved every day with the full moon. It's been dependent on the tides, and the incoming tide's been the best in the morning. My charters, we've been banging out quick limits on pink skitter walks, Rapala skitter walks, super spooks, then slamming chicken bass assassins. And later in the morning, we're taking those pink mirror lure softines and been thumping the outer bars with them. Those trout are just really, really eating them. Tommy Alexander caught and released trout to 29 inches this week in East Matagorda Bay. That lower barometer really got some of those big fish. I can't tell you how many 7 and 8 pound fish were released this week from some really solid charter captains. Just really, really good. The reefs in the middle of the bay have been wadeable as well. We haven't seen many calm days this summer to wade those mid-bay reefs like Drill's Lump, Half Moon Reef, Long Reef, and 3 Beacon Reef. But this week we did, and we found out what's on them. A lot of big trout hitting Super Spook Juniors, Skitter Walk, Bass Assassins, Down South Lures, and Mirror Lure Softines. At Freeport, it's been good there too. Trout are best around the rocks, the channel on free live shrimp. There have been some flounders hanging out in that same area where the trout is. And then in Port O'Connor, guide Gary Gray said Noonday Bar, the Hump, and the South Pass area are holding trout on those 5-inch Bass Assassin saltwater shad and the Butt Naked and the Magic Grass. The best option for boat anglers have been live Kroger, and he said they're still releasing, 1 to 2 27 or inch better trout a day. That's pretty strong. Captain Gray's echoed what many others have said about 2017. They're saying it keeps getting better, and it's the best fishing they've had in a decade. And there's a photo there of a dear friend of mine, Mike Grigger, and his son Lance and grandson Gunner. That little boy caught some fish on top waters. We just really hit them, and they really wanted that pink skitter walk on that day. So, they've been eating it up. Go to Redfish. Gary Gray there in Port O'Connor said it's been to show in the backwaters like Showwater Lake, the lagoon, and the maze of back lakes of Matagorda Bay. His best baits have been those smaller Bass Assassins, those sea shads, and the Butt Naked. Around Matagorda, the Redfish guys, man, we've had to move around a lot. It's been one here, one there, and we're power poling down and getting one off one point, one off the other one. And but the southeast winds help things this week. We're starting to see a lot of smaller fish, and then later in the day, as the tide comes out, you get those better fish. Around Freeport, the jetty area has been best for reds on Carolina rig, finger mullet, and pogies on that moving tide. And those surf anglers have found redfish in the first cut early in the morning on the incoming tide. And then Mike Segal there at Real Thrill Charters said he's been getting those bull redfish dried off the beach in 35 feet of water. Lots of gas stops with them and sharks too. And there's a photo there of my buddy Matt Spruce, East Bernard. He got a tournament quality red, probably went about 8.5 pounds there. We'll switch to offshore. Out of Freeport, kingfish and red snapper are really good around the rigs on sardines, about 25 miles out. Most of the snapper continue to run in about the 10 to 18 pound range, and here in Texas, we're able to fish for the snapper in state and Gulf waters every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through Labor Day. Really, a lot of big red snapper in Texas. Guy Michael Becca said the snapper are unreal too, and out of Matagorda. Cobia have been found on the weed lines. There are tons of kingfish all over. Amberjack are plentiful, but they are catch and release right now. And there's lots of good rips along the breaks and hilltops, and it's holding good numbers of billfish. So it's just, I can't tell you how good it's been.
All right, thanks, Bink. We got to go. All righty, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Coast hot spots. He says inshore, trout in the middle of East Bay while drifting Raymond Shoals and shell around the tripod on the west end of the bay. Live shrimp under mid-coast cork has been the ticket. Trout, mangrove snappers, and flounders are good in the channels around Freeport on a free line live shrimp. And then offshore, red snapper action has been great on the weekends in 35 to 80 feet of water, with most of the fish coming on a sardine and a squid. Don't be surprised if you find a few over 20 pounds, Bree. That's a stud snapper.
The bass and crappie bite is on fire in the Middle Fresh region, so pay close attention to Stephen Johnston if you plan on fishing Lake Limestone, Cedar Creek, Toledo Bend, or Sam Rayburn. Tell him, Stephen.
All right, I had some good reports come in from Guide Landon Ware. He's one of the guys that works with me over at Rayburn Toledo. He lives over close to Limestone, and he said it's really come back good the last year or so. The bass fishing is great from 5 to 12 feet of water. Catching a lot of those fish on topwater baits around the docks, and any kind of duckweed or any kind of grass or anything, piece of wood or anything that you can really find in the water. Almost any kind of piece of trash that fish can get in that shade. It's real good. And then out a little bit deeper in 8 to 12 feet of water, coming on Main Lake points and Main Lake ridges, throwing a big crankbait and throwing a 10-inch plum or Junebug color worm on a 3/8 or 5/16 weight. And you were catching some on a Carolina rig too, but it seemed like the Texas rig, he said, was a little bit better. And one thing with those docks on all these lakes, just about all over, with this sun, the higher the sun gets, the hotter it gets. Just remember, when you don't have to put your Costa sunglasses on, those fish don't have to be under those docks. And when you got to put your shades on, those fish are going to go up against a piece of brush or something and get up in that shade. So always remember that once that sun gets up and you put your glasses on, those fish are going up somewhere to hide too. He also said that the sand bass action is really picking up pretty good there at Lake Limestone. They're catching them on Main Lake ridges, on tailspins, and just regular quarter or 3/8 slab spoons. These fish are coming from 12 to 18 feet of water. So some days, he said, on the overcast, on some windy days when the storms are coming up, the fish are up a little bit higher. And then if it's calm and it's big, bright sun, those fish are down there in that 16, 18 foot, right there close to that bottom. Had some good reports come in from Cedar Creek. Bass are good around the docks, throwing topwater spinnerbait for the first couple hours in the morning. And then once that sun comes up, like we said before, those fish are getting up in the shade. So if you can find one of those docks that's got 6 to 8, 12 inches right above the water that aren't floating docks, those are the best ones to key on. You can flip your jig or some kind of tube or a Texas rig or kind of skip any kind of bait up in that shade. It's good. And then you can move out kind of the same thing. We're throwing a big crankbait, and some guys are throwing a 3/4 or 1 ounce spinnerbait in 12 to 18 feet of water, kind of on the Main Lake points, Main Lake ridges there at Cedar Creek. There's a lot of points coming out there. And there's a bunch of white bass mixed in with those bass. So if you get in a big school of white bass, a lot of times all it takes is just a cast to move over, 30 feet, 40 feet to get out of that school of white bass. And the black bass will be on one side of the school or the other. Most of the time in our region, they won't mix as much. In some places they do, but on ours, some reason they won't. So they'll just try to get on one side or the other, and those blacks will be right there on the side of those schools, those big white bass. Over on the, Toledo and Sam Rayburn, still the crappie. The crappie fishing's still good. I'm catching them from 12 to 15 feet of water. The fish are still coming off of bridges, docks, and brush. And, you know, you can catch some on a shad color or white color, pearl, some kind of jig, but it's still best to go with the live bait. Those fish early in the mornings, they'll be from that 12 to 13, 14-foot range. And as the sun comes up, you know, they'll drop down a little bit deeper. Most time we hadn't been catching them deeper in about 18 foot. It seemed like that 12 to 15 foot's kind of been the best range to, you know, to stay in. You know, most time, this time of year, kind of like Bink was saying, a lot of times you get stale in July, but here in our region, we've had a bunch of thunderstorms and some rain and stuff, and it seems like it's keeping everything kind of stirred up, keeping everything, you know, moving around. So, so the fishing's been steady on the crappie. And one other thing too, on the crappie guys, I know a lot of guys fish for crappie and some of them don't. Just when you go buy your minnows in the morning, or if you're going to buy them that afternoon, just wherever you get them, just tell the people, just don't put 6 or 7 dozen in a bag. Tell them put 2 or 3 dozen in a bag. And then what I do, I take just regular Coke bottles or milk jugs and freeze those with lake water or any kind of water, and just put those in a box and just put those bags up against there, and that'll sure help keep those minnows cool. And then they're ready to go. As soon as you hook them on in the morning, they get down there and get to fighting and looking for a crappie for you.
Great tip. Tell me about the photo, bud.
Man, that's a picture we took the other day. That's Jim and Anthony and me. That's one of them nice mornings. We had 50 slab crappie there, so they were all excited. I think more than anything, they're excited to get their picture out there on the show. So they've been beating on me for the last couple months.
We appreciate them watching, and more importantly, the picture. So let's take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. Lake Limestone, bass on top water around the docks. And once the sun comes up, move out into the main lake points. Use deep diving crankbaits and rigged worms in 12 to 18 feet of water, Bree.
Alrighty, Texans, the Lower Fresh region is on our honey-do list next, and then we're headed to the CCA workbench for rigs and techniques. Dave, do you know anything about honey-do lists?
No. My wife doesn't have me do anything.
Okay.
I messed up.
Smart woman.
I tear stuff apart.
All right, we'll be right back.
Only Mrs.
The
Farrell.
Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. Navionics, we start where the road ends. CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation. And Okuma, inspired fishing.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled, and finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
So Colin, check out the new F25 by Yamaha. Bub, we're talking 126 pounds of love, making this the lightest four-stroke in its class. And what's great about it is all the new features, all the new things that Yamaha has put into this. So let's go over some of these things. First off, it's really easy to tilt down and put into the starting position. Second of all, it's got a nice little short tiller, which doesn't get in the way when we're trying to steer running through those little tight creeks that we fish in the backcountry. Now, the other thing that I like is to switch into forward, neutral, and reverse, we've got a really big knob, not like we used to have. For those days when we're having to run a long way and holding on to this tiller can be fighting torque, they have an anti-torque button here where we can actually tighten up how easy the motor turns this way. Plus, we can actually tighten up the throttle itself so it doesn't want to back off. Now, for the guys that like to troll, Ka, they have a shallow water trim range on the motor and the tilt pin itself. Plus, we also have the ability to manipulate the RPMs in gear. So we can make those RPMs go up and down depending on whether we're trolling too fast or not. So this to me is the greatest portable 25 out there on the market. It's really going to work well for us when it comes to going in the no motor zones where we have to remove the engine from the transom and lay it up here in the floor. But I think Yamaha's really hit a home run with this 25. All right, you ready to go fishing? Let's go. All right, we'll go ahead and untie us there and I'll get us started. So we're here at the CCA workbench,
Yes, sir.
and maybe Santa Claus will bring you one of those 25.
Maybe, you never know. I
Just
need
a matter
one.
of whether you're good or
I'm
bad.
always good. I'm a good fella.
All right, good fella. Tell me about some.
Well, we're
all this
talking about
stuff.
creature baits. You know, last week on the Texas show, I mentioned one of them. We had one out, and we mentioned it, and you said, "Ooh, that's pretty neat." Well, I said, "Well, let's go ahead and talk about catching fish with them." And the very first creature bait was probably the lizard. Bass don't like lizards. Lizards, for some reason, piss bass off, and they eat a lot of lizards. And that was probably the very first creature bait. You know, it's a weird looking bait. And what happened is after that, they kind of got bigger and weirder. You know, some of this stuff no bass has ever seen before. Nothing in the water ever looks like it, and no human's ever seen it before, unless you're some guy making monsters for a TV movie or something. I mean, look at these things. So they have all these paddles and ridges and rings on them. And what these things are designed to do is they're designed to move a lot of water. And when the fish are down really deep, you know, trying to stay cool, or they're up in some really heavy brush, this thing is a big creature that moves through the water, and with all those little rings and paddles and stuff, it's moving the water. So even in dark water, they can sense that thing being there, and hopefully they'll try to eat it. So these things are fished in mainly like 3 or 4 different ways. You can fish them on a jig head, a football jig head that's like kind of like a punching lure. And a puncher is something that you want to use to get through heavy vegetation on the top. And some of these things will get, you know, 1.5 ounce to even to 2 ounce jig head to punch through heavy hydrilla or, you know, real thick grass and stuff. If you know that there's a pocket underneath there that you want to get that bait through, or you could fish it Carolina style. Now this is how a lot of guys will fish them here, and they'll get this thing in the summertime, and they'll get that thing down deep, and they'll have the Carolina rigged, and they'll have the big creature bait sitting up above the weight as it crawls on the bottom, fishing just like a plastic worm, or not.
Or not. And then what's with the chatter?
Well, that's a chatterbait, and it's kind of like a penetrator too, and you can jig that. You know, you put a big a bug on the back of the chatterbait, and when you put it down if you're flipping it up under a dock or something, you give it lift that rod tip real quick, and it'll brrr, and then it falls down again, brrr, and then it'll fall down. And a lot of times, most of the time, they'll eat this thing when it punches through. The initial punch through, when it comes through, that's usually when they'll get it. You jig it a couple times, and then you move on to the next spot. What you'll do is you'll get your nose of your boat right up into the junk almost. And guys with a good silent trolling motor will probably catch a lot more. They'll get right up in there, and they'll throw the little coffee cup sized holes in the cover and drop it straight down, and you just get
That's
real.
one of the things that has made the dual power poles change the way these guys flip
Exactly.
and pitch. And
Yeah, I have a hard time doing it because I don't have any of that on my boat. I don't have a power pole. I don't have any a trolling motor or anything. I do a lot of drifting and top water plugging. So this is all kind of a new thing for me. I don't like, it's kind of a slow thing, but the guys are catching a lot bigger fish than I am, even on my top water stuff. These are the kind of things that the guys who are winning all the big bass tournaments are using these days. So and they're using really heavy line too. 65-pound test braid stuff that I used grouper fishing.
Right.
Well, they're using that to catch these, and they'll tie straight to the hook with that braid because they're in all that heavy stuff. They don't really care if the fish can see it or not because it's usually a reaction bite. That thing punches through and he wants to eat it. And once he gets down in there, you hit them hard and you try to get their head up because they're in the stuff that he's in there because nothing else is in there.
Right.
And there's all kinds of other stuff for him to do the Houdini and put that hook on.
Right.
So when you get his head coming up, you got to crank it. So they're using really stout, long rods that they can lift those fish out of that cover. And once they get their head up, they're just cranking, sliding them across that cover. Because if he gets his head and goes back down on you, he's going to Houdini you. And
yeah, bass is like that grouper.
Yeah,
if he can
he's going to get off.
Look over his shoulder and see the hole where
That's
he wants
right.
to go.
He's done. He's already there.
Yeah, he's already there. Speaking of already there, Bree is standing by to give us our next reporter.
Yes, I am. If Choke Canyon, Lake Travis, Fayette County, or Somerville sound familiar to you, then listen up to our Yeti Lower Fresh Region guide, Matt Reed. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Bree, how are you?
We're pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's a good thing. We ready to talk about a little bit of largemouth bass?
Yes, Matt. Yes, sir. Waiting on you, Pop.
All right, well, let's get this thing started. I got too many legs to cover. Let's kick this thing off with Lake Travis. It's fishing pretty decent right now. In the mornings and the evenings, they're biting the top water, such as a pop-R. Also, some wake baits close to the shoreline. The bass are chasing shad and minnows up there in that shallow water. Also, the bluegill spawn around the full moon, so we've just had that, so there'll still be some bluegill spawning up there, and those bass will be relating to those bluegill beds. Later in the day, switch up to a shaky head with a trick worm on it and watermelon candy. Move out a little bit on the rocky points, and you're getting a few bigger bites. Let's roll on to Fayette County Lake. That lake's just been on fire. I keep talking about it, but it's still kicking them out. Early in the mornings, they're catching them in the pockets along the edge of the grass, the shallow hydrilla on Cincos, rattle traps, crankbaits, and frogs on top of the matted grass. It can be a whole lot of fun early in the morning in that shallow water action. Later in the day, moving out in that 18 to 20 foot range, using Carolina rigs with finesse worms on them, football jigs, and deep crankbaits. They've been catching some really good fish in that 18, 20 foot of water. Really need to find you some rock. Rock is a key structure there, key cover. Those fish really like the rock. Let's move on to another lake in the Austin area, Decker Lake. My buddy Brian Cotter has been fishing there quite a bit lately, and he's not catching a ton of fish there, but the quality's been fantastic lately. Early the fish are schooling, and he's throwing little bitty baits to catch those fish. They're schooling on small shad. Later in the day, he's throwing Cincos on the grass line or up in the reeds, and he's got some really big fish doing that lately. I'm going to keep rolling down a little further south, Choke Canyon, outside of Three Rivers. James Bray has sent me a report there. Fishing's been really good for a lot of bass in the 2 to 3 pound range. Along the hydrilla, the matted hydrilla, he's catching them best on a white quarter-ounce buzzbait with gold blades. That's been his dominant bite there most of the day, not only just early in the morning, but on through the day. There's also a good bite early in the mornings on a frog and a pop-R around the grass, but that goes away when it gets brighter. There's also a few fish out on the main lake points in that 15 to 20 foot range. You can catch those on a football jig or Carolina rig. Let's take one more lake on this whirlwind. Lake Somerville has really been kicking out a lot of good bass lately. The best ones are early in the mornings along the wind-blown banks. You can catch those fish on a top water or a square bill crankbait. And later in the day, they move out on the main lake points, throw you a dark colored trick worm or a creature bait. on a Carolina rig or a Texas rig, and you've got a good chance to catch you a big one.
So tell me about this photo there, Mr. Matt.
Oh, that's Brian Cotter with a 10.06 he caught out of Decker Lake this last week on a guide trip. One of those times you wish your customer had caught it, but by gosh, you're going to take a picture of it one way or the other.
So you got some hybrid bass and white bass to talk about?
Yeah, also like Summerville right now, the hybrids and the white bass are just exploding along the dam. Early in the mornings is best. You catch them at 6 or 12 foot on crankbaits, and also slab type spoons in a chrome color. Those hybrids are fun because they get bigger, but the white bass are really aggressive too, all mixed in together, and heck, that's a lot of fun and can make you a good meal.
Well, around Texas with our friend, our guide, Mr. Matt, Lower Coast Region. Thank you so much, Matt. We're gonna go ahead and get the hot spots from the Lower Fresh Region. Bass on Decker Lake are biting Cincos on the grass edges and in the cattails, and then Lake Summerville, hybrid stripers, white bass are great along the dam at 6 to 12 feet of water on crankbaits and slab spoons. It is best early in the morning, Bree.
Matt's a superstar. He's got a lot of ground to cover in that Yeti Lower Fresh Region.
Whoa.
Whew. All right, we're just getting revved up here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, so look alive, Lower Coast and Upper Coast regions. We're casting you next, and we're also talking with a special guest from Wet Sounds, so stay hooked. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. And King Sailfish Mounts, www.kingsailfish.com.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
Hey, how do you like your Contender? How do I like my Contender? What's not to like? Dude, I just saw a Contender, and man, I gotta get me one.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're here at the CCA workbench, and my friend from Wet Sounds, Chris Woodard, is here. And Chris, you know, when you're doing an audio system for boats, it always seems to be a challenge as to what we're going to do or where we're going to start. And I'm sure there's some rules that you should apply. So tell me, when you're starting with the little boats, what do we have to offer?
So you can start out with your smaller boats. Basically, size has to do a lot with your stereo. You've got to have the room to put your audio in your boat. So on a smaller skiff or even a bass boat for the freshwater guys, our sound bars are a great option. 6 speakers, built-in amplifier, 2 wires to run to your battery, Bluetooth your phone to it, and you're done.
Nice.
Step on up to your bay boats, Pathfinder, a little bigger center console. You can go into your coaxial speakers like our Revo 6. You can add an amp if you're wanting to get a little bit louder. You can just put 4 of our speakers on a head unit if you want to also, just for some sound.
Right.
Leave there, step on up to your bigger, higher end center consoles, your sport fishes, 39, 40-foot boats. You can step into our 8-inch coaxials, our 10-inch coaxials, subwoofers, tower speakers. You can pretty much, sky's the limit.
And you're gonna push that with an amp, obviously,
Absolutely.
and those bigger boats. So let me ask you, salt water can really be tough on equipment. So what have you guys done at Wet Sounds to help our investment last a lot longer?
So we have completely sealed our new line of speakers. So if you look at the back of this product here, our new Revo coaxial, the crossover system is completely sealed. Plus all of your wiring connectors are completely sealed. So you're gonna have a male and a female end that comes with the product. Plug them together, heat shrink, butt connect the other end to your boat, you're done, completely sealed.
I like it. The other thing I noticed in my speakers in my Pathfinder is that I have lights inside the speaker. So
Absolutely.
when I'm running in the dark or listening to the music, I got the lights going off, and that kind of
Brings
makes
the
it like
party
a
on.
discotheque.
The fish love to have lights.
Exactly. So if we want to know more information about Wet Sounds, where do we need to go?
Go to our website, wetsounds.com.
Thank you so much. I'm so much smarter about audio systems now, and I appreciate everything you
Thanks for
guys
having
do.
us.
Are you
All right,
amped,
Bree.
Rick? Are you
I'm-
amped?
I'm amped.
He's
I'm
amped.
I'm
He's
amped.
amped. We're all amped. We are now bringing you Captain Chad Kinney in the Lower Coast region, and he is going to give you your inshore and offshore report. Hey.
Tell you what, everything's going great. We've had some good weather. Fishing's been great, but the best thing I just looked at right now, guys, the forecast for the weather is looking excellent the next 2 days. So get offshore, get inshore, get on the lakes, wherever you want to go, but the weather's really hit a good pattern here. So starting with the inshore, trout fishing's been really good out of South Padre. Go to the Long Bar. There's some deeper grass lines right off there in sand pockets, and flounder are starting to show up now also. So look for the drop-offs on those guys and some guts along the channels, and that'll be your best bet for the flounder. So moving into the trout there, like I said, along the Long Bar there out South Padre, it's been real good. The winds have been real calm. They've been subsided in the morning, so try your top waters early, like a Rapala Bone Skitter Walk. That's been really good product early in the morning there. And also, if you like using live bait, free line some live bait there. The grass, it's been producing real well out there. Try some live piggies, croaker, finger mullet. Use that in like an 18, 24-inch shock leader with a 25-pound fluorocarbon. That'll work out good with like a 5-aught tail hook. If you get some bigger baits, which as the season goes on, it'll get bigger there, go to like a 7-aught, so you got a bigger gap there. For the soft plastics, the saltwater assassin's been working really well. You can start those early in the morning, go through the whole day with them on it. Or some Kelly Wigger ball tail shad's been working excellent on that stuff also. So moving over to the flounder, they're actually starting to show up and down the coast here. So I had a guy actually call me today. They caught an 8-pound, 4-ounce flounder in Arroyo City. So that's a really big one there. But look for the water along the ICW or guts or anywhere you got a little tidal flow. Get like a 1/4-ounce jig head in the curly tail gulp works really well, or live finger mullet and mud minnows. And work on the whole edge of the sand pocket or the gut that you're working on. Look for little shiners to be popping up. If you see shiners moving and tidal movement there, be real patient. Work that whole edge to drop off every little part and rework it, because definitely there's going to be some flatties in there. And use a slow retrieve and bump along the bottom, of course. And if you're wade fishing out there, guys, make sure you take a dip net with you in order to have a chance to land them, because they're pretty hard to get a hold of with your hands there. So I've got a photo of a flounder here. Guy caught one up the ICW there, and I got a decent pick on that.
That's a nice fish. Hey, Chad, before we go offshore, we do want to take a look at the Navionics from the Lower Coast region. And guys, we're talking about the Port Mansfield, Fish Haven. This general area has a lot of structure, a great place now to be able to go out and catch your snappers that we've been talking about for the last few weeks. Now keep in mind that all of these platforms that you have down here are holding structure or holding snappers, as well as a lot of the drop-offs. So remember that as you head out offshore with the pretty weather, right, Chad?
Yeah, correct. It's going to be great. Definitely use a benefit of that and find some structure there.
All right, so let's go ahead. Tell me what you got.
Okay, on the offshore, it's been excellent. It continues snapper fishing. Federal Street water has been great. And actually some sharks have moved in heavily around the structure, both state and federal waters. So I'll get to those after a bit. But sticking with the snapper here, snapper fishing's excellent. Like I said, in the Navionics, go ahead and use that. Get to that fish haven, guys. Just fish all through there. Try jigging with a Williamson flutter jig, about 3 to 5 ounce, works really good. And just out of here at Mansfield, there's plenty of fish out there right now. If you get slower, guys, there's a crab hatch, which I call it. So what they're doing is they're feeding on little baby crabs, and they just gorge themselves to death. So when you catch them, you catch a nice snapper, you put them in your cooler, and you're going to look at all these crabs starting to show up in your cooler because they're, spinning them and yakking in your ice chest. But what happens, in my experience, when those crabs start getting 2 to 3 inches and bigger, they move off, and the snapper will go back to squid and everything else on there. So this will only probably last a couple of weeks. So if you come down, don't get stirred. There's still plenty of fish there. It just slows the bite down. We're kind of spoiled to hammering them real quick right there. So still try to use like a double rig with an 8-ounce bank weight and use some fresh squid or whole squid works great. And try like a 13-aught VNC circle hook that works really good. I like the 13s primarily because it has a bigger gap in it. So when you're catching those 6, 8, 10-pound fish, you can roll it out of their jaw a lot easier than a 10-aught or 12-aught. So go with that. And I had a trip out with a bunch of 3 couples there. You can see a picture of the snapper. We had a lot of fun and got limited snapper probably there in about an hour.
All right. Thank you so much. Great report from the Lower Coast region. Oh, you got another photo?
Yeah.
Oh,
got
sorry.
One more quick speech on the sharks there. So if anybody's interested in the sharks, there's a bunch of them just moved in. I haven't caught hardly any until this last week. So look for them to concentrate around the structure, bait. Use any chum you got. If you get fresh bonita, that works great. It's got of course your buddy scent on there. Depending on the size the sharks are targeting, use mono or steel cable leader. 13, 14-ounce hooks would be great like that. Mainly we're catching a lot of black tip spinners, bull sharks. And so I got a picture of a shark there with Brenda and Trey there. They haven't been shark fishing before. They got about a 60-pound black tip there.
Nice. All right, well, thank you so much. Didn't mean to rush you. Just had a dummy moment. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Lower Coast hotspots. Inshore, trout fishing has been good out of South Padre Island. Try the long bar and deeper grass lines with sand pockets. Flounders are starting to show up, so look for them on the drop-offs and the guts along the channel. And then offshore, snapper fishing remains excellent, so take advantage of the weekends in federal water. Sharks have moved in heavily around the structure, both in state and federal waters.
Rick, you never have dummy moments.
Yeah,
what happened?
I just did.
It's okay.
I was just so excited about getting to the next captain that I just lost it.
Before we do, I have to mention the 43rd Port Mansfield Fishing Tournament is coming up July 27th through the 29th, and our very own Captain Chad Kinney is the offshore director. There will be 2 bay tournaments and a kids tournament, as well as live music, door prizes, and raffles. So check out the Port Mansfield Fishing Tournament Facebook page for registration, rules, and schedules. And now, Captain Caleb Harp in the Upper Coast region is going to dial you in on this weekend's offshore and inshore bite, so get ready. Hey, Caleb.
Hey, Bree, how are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and start off the trout. And the trout have really been good under birds on Sabine Lake. With the abundance of white shrimp, there's numerous flocks working from Blue Buck Point to Greens Bayou. Some days they've been working all the way up to Willow Bayou and all the way down on the south end of the lake by the houses on the Pleasure Island. Generally, these birds are going to be working at first light, and then they're going to die off quick. This week, the bite was over around 9 o'clock. Then they'd fire back off in the afternoon on the outgoing tide. And these fish are going to be in a feeding frenzy. They're going to be gorging themselves on pretty much anything in front of the face. So lure and color selection doesn't matter. And downsizing, though, to smaller soft plastics has been a good tactic, resulting in better hookup ratios since they're primarily feeding on smaller size bait. An 8-ounce jig head's going to be your best bet, maybe even a 16th, since these fish are going to be in the top of the water column. And then going over to the redfish have been pretty good on North Shoreline of West Bay again. With the lack of wind we've had, the water's getting really clear over there. And, like I've talked about before there, you're going to want to focus in between Greens Cut and Meekums and around the Karankawa Point. They're really good places to go for them. But these areas are going to be loaded up with grass, which the redfish are going to use as ambush points to attack the bait in. A good tactic is to throw a soft plastic rigged weedless or a weedless spoon through the sand pockets within the grass. These redfish normally aren't too big, but they're a lot of fun to watch chase your lure through that air clear water.
So you got any offshore stuff for me?
Yeah, actually we had an opportunity to go out there. It's been so windy here every time but a lot of guys were able to go out there this week, and the red snapper have been really hot and heavy like always in the federal water out of Galveston. And this weekend, being that there were a lot of people to get out there due to the lack of wind, they did really well. And most of the snapper within 30 miles were pretty small, but the better snappers seemed to be around the 80-mile mark. The federal waters recently opened up to recreational anglers on the weekend, so it's been wide open. And jigs, Spanish sardines, anything dead will work on pretty much about any structure in that area. And then also some dolphin has showed up. Some of the guys that were able to run out even further found a lot of dolphin on weed lines and floating debris at about 100 miles out of Galveston. But just bump trolling live hardtails down the weed lines was the best way to catch them. But these dolphin were up to about 35 pounds on some of the bigger ones they caught.
All right, thank you so much, Caleb. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Upper Coast Region hotspots. Whoa. Inshore, birds working over the shrimp at Sabine Lake between Blue Buck Point and Green Bayou. The birds have been working at sunrise and on the tide changes. Any lure will work since it's a feeding frenzy, but you might want to downsize to smaller plastics, have been better on the hookup ratio. And then offshore, red snappers everywhere in federal waters out of Galveston. Smaller fish around 30 miles out, but best snapper is around 80 miles and out. Use jigs, Spanish sardines, or anything live. Federal waters recently opened to recreational anglers on the weekends, so go get them.
Take a breather. With only With only one more region left, we're headed to the Upper Fresh region, and then we just have to check out what Dave has for us at the CCA New Products Workbench.
It's all Rapala today.
What?
Straight up Rapala, 832 suffix, all the Rapala
Oh,
stuff.
I just can't wait.
Yeah.
I just can't
Williamson
wait.
Lures.
All right,
Nice.
we'll be back with
Very
all
good
that and more.
Nice.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder. Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Yeti, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about the single power pole anchoring system or possibly duals. Now let's start off by talking about the single. Now when you have a single, the one thing that happens is your boat has a tendency to want to lay constantly downwind. So what duals allow you to do is once you get the boat in the exact position that you want, whether you're fishing an oyster bar, maybe a pothole, or along a shoreline, it opens up the boat to have more access to casting sideways. So the key is that in windy situations or maybe high volumes of current, you have a tendency to have more control with duals. Now, all the power pole anchors come with a variety of different switches, and we're gonna get into what those switches do in next week's Power Pole Tip of the Week. So we're here at the CCA workbench, and
Yes.
it's that time in the show where we talk about new products. And obviously,
we're proving yet again that you can put a big camo on an elephant but still see the elephant. That's what we're doing.
You know, we can find all these cool products at Academy, Dave. But
Yes, sir.
What should we, hard baits or something that a lot of the guys are talking about?
Right. Well, these are a bunch of the Rapala ones. We've got some of the twitching mullet there, which is a really beautiful color. Brand new color for these as well. Also have a little pinfish there in that same style of bait. Everything eats these things. Anything that'll eat a mullet or a pilchard will eat that. As far as inshore, snook, redfish, ladyfish, everything.
Big
will
trout.
Eat the big, especially a big trout will eat that too. They also come with the mangrove minnow style there, which is that color.
New color, yeah.
And the pilchard as well. And this is, I think this is the pilchard right here.
This is the pilchard.
Right.
Now this is the subwalk, Dave,
Right.
which, I think one of the big mistakes that we all make when we're fishing hard baits is that we don't match the silhouette or
Right.
the shape like we
Correct.
should. So if you're fishing something
Size
that
is very
looks like
important, too.
pogey
Right.
or looks like a white bait or a pilchard, then you're going to obviously want the twitching mullet.
Right.
But if you got something that really looks sardine-like, or obviously this looks like a finger mullet in
Yes,
a
it does.
huge way, you could throw the subwalk, a suspending bait. Then we obviously, this is the bigger size
With a
twitching minnow, as well as we get these in all the different, what is that? What does that say? I can't even
Mangrove
read it.
minnow. That was
Yeah.
the mangrove minnow, and this is the pilchard actually.
This is an X-Wrap long.
Yeah, right.
And what it's designed to do is it's loaded inside. You can feel its weight, Dave.
Yep, long cast.
It can cast it. That's
A
right,
long
long
way.
cast.
Yep, that's a
Exactly,
long
that's what it's
cast.
designed for. Single inline hooks.
Right. That keeps you from tearing apart those trout and stuff you're going to let go.
Yeah.
We don't want to mess them up if we're going to let them go. That's for sure.
All right, so not always is the hard bait the way to go.
That's right.
So then we're gonna go soft bait.
360 GT Coastal. These are all the new soft baits that Storm is coming out with. Storm is under the Rapala umbrella, and they've got the shrimp. That's a little 3-inch shrimp, and that is the really cool the tail. It's got a really neat tail on it that's made to keep this bait in the proper orientation.
Right.
It won't flip around. It'll sink, horizontally.
Right.
Really trick tail is what it's called. It's a fork horizontal, and it comes in mango minnow as well as the shrimp.
And do these come with a hook in
They
the package?
come with 1 hook and 3 baits. And if they're all VMC hooks, some of them are weighted, some of them are not. These actually come with a jig head, the tails here.
So this is a paddle tail.
Correct, a paddle
swim
tail.
bait, which a lot
Right.
of guys refer to it.
Correct. And Storm 360. That's a beautiful color as well.
Yeah.
They all come with a coastal black VMC hook. So when you hook them, you're not going to let them go.
So we've talked about 832 in the past,
Correct.
but what makes this different, Dave?
Well, look at it. It's blue and white and blue and blue and blue and white. It's the camo.
Exactly.
It's their new camo.
Coastal camo.
And it's made for guys who are fishing in blue water against a blue sky with some clouds in there, and it's supposed to mimic the environment around it, so it kind of hopes that it makes it disappear. Doesn't matter if it disappears or not, because if they eat this thing with this on it, you're going to catch them. They don't have a problem eating it even when it's white, but I imagine this will even be better. A
The
little
great
stealthy.
part about this, even though this is just a little spool, 150
Coming
yard
on big
filler
spools
spool,
now.
up to 3,500 yards.
Yeah, that's a
in
3
all the
pound
different
spool
colors.
probably.
White,
Yep.
green, whatever it may be.
You can get some huge ones. Well, these are new, moving on, these are the Williamson jigs. These are some of the butterfly jigs, slow falling flutters. It's called the Koika. And they come in from, 3.5 ounces all the way up to that big, like a 9 ounce here.
Right.
And what's great about these is though they're asymmetrical. They're weighted in the middle perfectly. So these things just flutter. When you kick it up once and then let it fall, it flutters perfectly horizontal.
The shape of it is just so unique.
Very nice. And they
like
also
a diamond,
They also have a UV coating in them too. So it really picks up that UV, and everything likes that UV. And you can't hardly beat these things. When you put these on braid, you can feel every tap in really deep water, catch all kinds of really big deep water fish.
Wow. That was a lot.
Yes, it was.
Excellent work over here. You know, Bree, you know about fishing these Williamson jigs. We were doing a Sportsman's Adventure episode, and you were slamming the blackfin tunas.
I was slaying the blackfin tunas, absolutely. On the koikas, I think it is. It's definitely a koika. All right, let's give a warm welcome to Rick Carter, our guide in the Upper Fresh region, fishing on Joe Pool Lake, Ray Roberts, and Fork. Close us out good, Rick.
Hey guys, glad to be here. Joe Pool Lake, that's just south of Arlington. Jace Hinkle's been catching some great fish. The bass are on the points and 12 to 15 foot. Old tank dams are in the same depth. They're holding fish on the Joe Pool Lake. Carolina rigs with green pumpkin and watermelon red flukes are the best baits on fishing that deep stuff. Shaky heads also with the watermelon red airtail. That's a grande bass bait. It's a really nice bait they came out with. Makes that shaky head stand straight up. And later in the day, the Sexy Shed deep running crankbait will pull also. We're going to move on to Ray Roberts. The bass are still biting up north on this lake, flipping standing timber with crawfish and creature baits. Rig that stuff in watermelon candy, blue fleck are good colors on Ray Roberts right now. Stay close to the deeper ditches in that timber. Crankbait later in the day, catching them around the Buck Creek area. There's a big bridge there by Buck Creek. Then on Ray Roberts, they do have the zebra mussels, so when you pull the boat out, you want to hitchhike on your boat. So,
all right, Rick, we're losing your connection a little bit, so you might want to try to hold still if you can, please, there, partner.
Okay, how's that, Rick?
That's great. Sounds perfect. Keep going. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, on Ray Roberts, you just want to remember about those zebra mussels and really kind of inspect your boat when you're coming out of that lake up there. Moving on to Lake Fork, the fish are staying deep here at Fork. We're having some hot days now. So your crankbaits, football jigs on deep points with even deeper water close by. Also, if those fish are schooling, the 5-inch shad assassin on a weighted hook, just kind of dead stick it over those fish, let it drop down to the Carolina rigs later in the day, 3-foot leader with a 1-ounce weight, and we're throwing a chartreuse pepper Lake Fork tackle hyper stick on our Carolina rigs right now.
Tell me about the photo there, Rick.
Hey, that photo's Matt Yost. Matt and his brother-in-law had a couple of hot summer trips.
That's a nice fish. I like the color of his shirt. Looking pretty proud. All right, bud, what about some crappie?
Hey, the Lake Fork crappie are still being caught big time here in 18 to 25 foot. Terry Moon, she's smoking them. I've been watching her every day come in and filleting all those crappie. The Lake Fork tackle baby shad and the bonehead gliders and chartreuse white. If you're looking for a crappie trip, just look Terry Moon up at Lake Fork Marina and she'll hook you up there like Morgan and Clint with Terry in that photo I seen in there.
Hey, Rick, tell me about this photo.
Yes, that crappie photo is Morgan and Clint with Terry Moon. They got them a couple limits there by 11 o'clock, I believe, that morning.
So, Rick, I want to ask you a couple questions. The first question is, you know, you told me a couple weeks ago that sometimes this time of year, y'all take the middle part of the day off. So is that one charter or is that two charters, like 2 half-day charters like they would do typically in other places in salt water?
That'd just be one charter. We just go in and take a midday break, and it works out pretty good because sometimes the summer bite really kicks back on late evening, and several of the guides do that.
I like it. So one other question, you know, well, a lot of times when we get an afternoon thunderstorm, certainly it cools off the water. Do you guys like to go out and fish late and even do nighttime charters out there? I think we lost him. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and read the Upper Fresh hotspots from the Upper Fresh region. Rick Carter says that Joe Pool Lake producing good bass early on the points with the Carolina rig. And then Lake Fork for the crappie are still bunched up with limits by 11 a.m. So, Bree,
Yes, Rick.
I want to ask you, you had a birthday last week. What
I
did
did.
you
Your birthday?
do?
I went to the sandbar.
Imagine that.
Imagine that, out in the sun, having fun. I had breakfast with my family.
You know, Dave, Bree caught in the last 2 weeks, she's caught 2 swordfish. You
Yes,
want
she
to tell me
has.
a little bit about that? How deep was it, and did the fish jump or anything?
No, I wish it would have jumped. It was in 1,600 feet of water. We went out and drifted once or twice and hooked up just like that.
So was it-
Apparently it's hard.
So was that your
You've been
first
spiled.
and second
That was my
sword?
first and second, and my first and second times going sword fishing. I kinda
So
got
why
one.
don't you?
She's 2 for 2.
But it also was all about the crew and the captain, and I learned a lot. Obviously, it always is about the team, guys. It's all
Yeah.
about the team.
Yeah.
Quickly, you know, what did you catch them on?
What did we
What
catch
bait?
them on? Squid.
Oh, squid.
Squid.
All right, Dave. So,
Oh, and bonita belly the second time.
all right. Well,
Ripped
we got
up like
about
a taco.
15 seconds to say goodbye.
All
so,
right, well,
yes,
thanks
thank
for
you so
tuning in,
much for
y'all. We'll
watching.
see you next
Don't forget,
week.
tell all your friends about the
Yeah.
Texas Insider Fishing Report.
We're new kids on the block. We need your
Bye-bye.
help.
Yeah, man.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
See you next week.